Started. There we go. Welcome everybody to the Strafford County Delegation Executive Committee meeting, which was scheduled for Friday, February 20th, 2026, 9 a.m. at the Cafe Conference Overall Room, 256 County Farm Road, Dover, New Hampshire. We have a couple of members on Zoom, and just as we are going to go into our roll call, which is 3 on the list. Just a reminder, I'm going to ask you.
Do number 2 first.
Yeah. I'll get to all this, but I'm just rambling along, just a precursor. So when we do get to the roll call, just make sure that you say if you're alone in the room and just a brief reason why you're not here. So that's me calling the meeting to order. We'll start with number 2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I will have the clerk call the roll, please.
Yeah.
Bailey?
Present, and I am not alone in the room.
Vernon is excused. DeRoy?
Yes, I'm alone. Oh, and I'm not there because I'm still walking around with pneumonia here or some godforsaken thing.
And Harrington?
Mike, you're being.
Oh, I couldn't hear what she's saying. Okay. Yeah, I'm here and I have strep throat. That's why I'm at home.
Oh, God.
Well, it's contagious, so they told me not a good idea to go. That's why I wasn't at the house yesterday.
Thank you for not coming.
Corey?
Here.
Howard?
Here.
Kaczynski?
Here.
Woman Kane? Here. Skip Malone? Potenza?
Not our way. Not here.
Schmidt?
Here.
Southworth?
Here.
And Wall?
Yeah.
Here, and Seth Miller is here just as servant. And Helen.
Out here.
When I take up over.
Okay, so we have 9 physically present, 2 on Zoom, so we have a quorum, so we can officially get started. That brings us to number 4 on our agenda, which is, so we have successfully made it through all of our subcommittees. Each of the subcommittees met, they had a discussion of their section of the budget, and they all voted on a recommendation to come to us. So the first one is the Criminal Justice Subcommittee, which was chaired by Representative Bay. I do not see Representative Bay here. I can sum it up because I attended the meeting. There were no substantive changes requested from the commissioner's recommendations to the criminal justice section, which included, I believe, the courts and the jails. Are there any questions? We have staff here that can answer anything. Are there any questions from anybody on the criminal justice section?
And for the record, you want to say it was unanimous vote 5-5?
It was as Representative Southward pointed out, it was a unanimous recommendation of the subcommittee for the commissioner's recommendation. Just these papers. Okay. Anybody? I'm not meaning to rush anybody on this one. All right. Is there, if no one has anything to add, I will move on. It's a little challenging when we don't have that person here. The second one is, number 5 on the agenda is report from the General Government Subcommittee. And Representative Miller is the chair of the committee, so he can fill us in on the details.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The budget is, we don't have the last year's numbers in here, but the budget is pretty close to level, for the general government. There was, Meals on Wheels, Easter Seals both came in level. We did have some significant debate on the Easter Seals funding. Ultimately did choose to retain it, but that is something that I think will continue to be a topic of discussion in the years ahead. It is certainly a significant touch point, and understandably so. Did you want to add?
Well, I just wanted to add in the minutes, it says that I made a motion to delete the money from Easter Seals,
that
and
is-
seconded by Pearson. And
That is inverted.
I don't want to take that credit away from him. He
No,
was
no,
one
yes,
thing.
that, you're correct. I didn't catch that in the notes. It was actually moved by Pearson and seconded by Kaczynski. So,
Can we get that?
we added that in, sorry. Beyond that, the other conversations we had were relatively consistent with, the prior year. Some fun with Conservation District and trying to get chainsaws at our homes and things like that. The one thing that changed from the commissioner's proposed budget is with 4120, bottom of page 3, the Registry of Deeds. We approved an increase of what would be a total approximately thought it was 24,000 with 23,238 with all of the bits included. This is to account for the fact that one of the senior members of the staff is retiring at the end of the year and they will be replaced. The typical county policy is we don't replace someone until they have departed. But given the significant training requirements to ramp up to speed and the incredible institutional history and knowledge of a 30+ year employee retiring, we agreed as a subcommittee that giving that person a few months extra overlap time was a smart choice and a smart investment for the long-term success. And also mostly offset by increased revenue that we are realizing now from some of the work that the Registry of Deeds does that is a profit center rather than expense. So the rest of it is pretty straightforward. I don't think there was too much debate or conversation or conflict about any of the rest of the line items, but I'm happy to speak to any of them if anyone has any other questions.
Just on that level, one thing on page 4, there's a typo, which I should probably be corrected before we pass on another draft of this to the thing, which is the name is known as in page 4 in the second paragraph, it says Reverend Corgan, who's used to be a Reverend Corgan, who's
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
but that's okay.
We're close.
And I will also call out that 5131, we do know that the price of chicken tenders is going up, so.
Yeah. Yeah, also say, the issue with Easter Seals, that's not a new one, and it came up a little bit less so, just like a couple of other social service agencies, all of which are very professionally managed organizations, which do keep some cash reserves.
I think that, I mean, I don't mean to interject, but that did come up. It's come up over the last 2 years, and it was specifically what is the appropriate amount of fund balance that the nonprofits would retain. And I think hopefully we can reach out to them before they come next year to kind of clarify so they're better prepared. Because I think there was legitimate concern about like how much is too much and what is appropriate. So it'd be better if we're kind of prepared next year to let them address it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got a problem with that. I mean, Easter Seals assets went up over $10 million this year. The Meals on Wheels, I thought last year when they had $1 million in their bank account was a lot. It went to 1.39 million. And you gotta say, why are these people coming to us for money? What's going on here? A nonprofit, they're building up these bank accounts. And somebody said, well, it doesn't go to a private person. Well, a lot of this money is coming out of the private person's pockets because these NGOs are actually GOs. They're getting most of their money from the government. And I think it's outrageous, to be honest about it. They got these businesses going with all kinds of protections. And, I'm thinking about coming in here today and I'm saying, really, this is an expansion of government, but you're kind of moving the shells around. So I'd rather maybe let the governments take over these operations. Then maybe they'd have to tighten up some of their other giveaways because citizens would object to that. But this way, it's spread out all over the place, kind of cleverly, I'll say. I don't see why we're giving a dime people. You might say, well, it's not much money in the scheme of things, but it's the whole concept here.
I mean, with what you pointed out there, I guess in my mind, it's this trend of increasing fund balance that we've seen. And so the thing that we heard was that the fund balance was needed to make up in case there was volatility that like hit them. But how much, again, if it's a continued 3-year trend of escalating fund balance that you're not using, how much is too much is a good question. So I think, as I put like an asterisk of what we need to think about for this subcommittee next term, that's a big one. Yeah.
Give it, the Easter Seals, they took over they basically took over the work they're doing here in the county that we're kicking in a relatively small amount of money for from another organization which operated on a shoestring, didn't have cash reserves, and actually it went broke and went out of business. And I think Easter Seals is certainly not providing worse service than the previous agency did, and probably better. So I actually feel more comfortable doing business, and that applies to Meals on Wheels and the Conservation District and the cooperative extension too. I usually prefer doing business with organizations that have some reserves that are professionally managed and have some resiliency built into their operations, more than somebody who's just more than a group that's doing the best they can with no resources. But maybe that's just me. But
Representative Kaczynski?
Representative reminds me, during that meeting, I was Googling salaries of Easter Seals. And the woman that gave us the presentation was making $188,000 plus benefits. The CEO is $371,000 plus benefits. They had a list of people, there was like 10 or 12 people, were all in the $200,000 range, quite generous. And another thing that I didn't mention was Coast Transportation. And here they are, they're going to build a facility on our dime, a little bit of contribution privately. It was something like $19 million. So every bus, every vehicle could be in a heated garage. Now, I do transportation in my business. I've got a 40 by 90 garage, put a tractor trailer, and you don't need, that's all they need is something to put you go put 2 or 3 buses or 4 of them in there and work on them or whatever. But this is the kind of thing, I mean, you have somebody in the private sector, a contractor that would have a heated garage for all their vehicles. And it's rare. I'd say there's probably almost none like that. So it's just really going over the edge here.
So to that point, Representative Kaczynski, we're gonna get from the minutes of this meeting, that will be in there, and we should star that as we enter into the budget cycle next term. Before we get to your meeting, that we've reached out to all of the what you've talked about, like Coast, Easter Seals, and sent them what the concerns were from this session, so that when they show up at the meeting, they can answer it, I think.
And I will,
Question on the phone, on the Zoom?
Oh, yeah, first of all, I apologize. Those of you on Zoom, please interject, because I was forgetting Representative Harrington.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on what Tom said, that not only Coast seems to be extravagant, but we should also ask them, what's the average number of passengers per mile? Because, I'm walking into Walmart or someplace and I see the Coast bus pull up, and you look inside and there's like one person on it or 2 people on it. And I just wonder how many people are actually riding per mile on these buses, and if it wouldn't be much more efficient to cut the size down to like vans, given the amount of people that ride them. That's what some feedback I'd like to get from coasters. What's their average passenger per mile driven?
Thank you. Thank you for that. As I say, we are gonna have all of these, and conveniently enough, Chair Miller is sitting here, so he can, so as we move into next time, I think we'll be able to have the agencies prepared when we walk in to kind of answer all these questions.
And I will also apologize to the entire delegation. I discovered that I was the newly appointed chair of this about an hour before the meeting. Not quite that quickly, but Al and I need to work on our communication skills.
Yeah,
I found out that I was the chair of the subcommittee roughly a couple days before and did not have time to fully do all of that preparation. So it will get better.
we'll get better. This time it's kind of unprecedented for me because I put two new chairs on the fly, and they had not done this before, so we will be more efficient. Representative Bailey.
Well, I just want to note that we're to some extent duplicating almost exactly the same conversation on the same legislation from last year.
Yes.
And you say, okay, well, next year we'll deal with this. Why didn't we deal with this time? This second time around, instead of the third time around?
We did not do this because I mean, there was just I'll take full responsibility for it. It's like there was a transition that was occurring between me putting in a new chair and I just kind of dropped the ball on it this time. So
You perhaps won't take it amiss if I vote no.
I understand
This
your
being the third
disappointment.
time until it's addressed instead of the third time.
It is duly noted, Representative Bailey, and again, I apologize. We will do better next time. Representative Kaczynski.
I just want to say, Chairman Miller did a wonderful job running the committee. And it was, I asked a lot of questions about things he allowed to share with everybody. With what we're on.
Thank you. Representative Southwood.
Yeah, I'm more focused locally. I guess what I want to make sure with the commissioners is, are these services, are we really serving people with real needs that would not get service if we cut these programs? I'm really not interested in their CEO, just from my perspective. I care about Strafford County. Do our people need Meals on Wheels, which I know they do? That's really just what I think the focus should be, is are we serving our constituents? That's our responsibility, is are we serving our constituents? So obviously, again, I'll use Meals on Wheels because my mom worked for them. I mean, if we're cutting meals from people, I don't really care what their hierarchy is doing. I want Strafford County people to get the meals that they need. So I'm just saying to mix that piece in too, but it'll all be useful information.
Representative Kaczynski.
I see your concern. If they were on a tight budget, that would be a different way to look at it. But when they've got millions of dollars here and they say they're not gonna do it, then you gotta look at, well, why would you not do it if you've got plenty of money? These people are making, we learned, about $13 to $15 an hour using their own cars. And there's 1.39 million there, so I don't think there's a shortage of cash.
Any other questions, Representative Smith?
Well, I agree with a lot of what's being said, but the format that we have for reviewing the budgets and so forth does not really permit us to do the kind of investigation of the issue that you're raising, Representative, and that is, are the salaries being paid the top people in these organizations? Are the salaries commensurate with the work that they're doing in the organization they're running and so forth? And I don't think that our part of the pie, so to speak, permits us to get into these questions sufficiently, and we ought to look at it in a different way, because we're not getting the kind of background that we need in order to make a valid judgment, in my opinion. And we're reduced to the basis that Representative Southwood was just talking about. Do they do the job for us, for our share of their budget and so forth, that we need and we can justify. So I think we ought to develop a better format for getting at that. And just with regard to the coast situation, 25 years ago, when I was on the Dover City Council, I was on the coast. I was a assigned member of the council to the coast system. I was on the coast board and subsequently became chair of the coast board. And I recall the buses that we had in those days were these, if anybody remembers, you're all old enough to remember 25 years ago, there were these giant buses that we had bought used and so forth. They were diesel buses, really exhaust gas. You didn't want to be driving behind them. And I was stuck behind them a couple of times, so I'm speaking from experience. So the new management came in and we got rid of the old buses because they were not really serviceable. Some of them were the kind of bus that kneels down, only the kneeler didn't work. So you'd see elderly or people who were disabled trying to get up into this bus, and it was not a good process, especially on a wintry day, icy and so forth and so on. So we got a completely new fleet of buses. It's very professionally run right now. Whether the CEO is making more money than he or she should, that's a matter for another question. But anyway, just a little bit of background. So Post has made enormous improvements in their operating modality and so forth. So the other issue is something we need to look at in a different manner, in my opinion. Here's Representative.
Representative Smith.
Miller, you know.
I do not know.
Was it Seth Miller, be Smith?
Yeah,
We'll go with it. The chair of my committee doesn't get my name. I have to find it. The one other thing I just want to address, Representative Kaczynski's point about the new facility being built, by Coast. One of the things that was shared with us, and this is pretty typical for public transit in general, the funding for that facility is federal. We have a $14 million, I believe, in grants that have been received to help build that facility. And the money that we as a county help contribute to is operational. And that is very typical of how public transit facilities and systems work in this country. Federal grants deliver the money for CapEx, and the locality, in our case, the community, county, the municipalities, and some private donations handle OpEx. So there are some big numbers in there, but they come from different buckets, and
All the same.
it's all the same bucket, right? It's all the same bucket in the end, which is you're in my pocket. I get
Same
that.
bucket. So
But
I think,
but how it gets there comes from a winding.
so.
The bucket's empty.
As you can tell from.
Dear life or dear life.
My bucket's empty.
As you
Can
can
you
tell.
fill my bucket?
I,
Just kidding.
I'm sorry, but I only get like $100 a year.
I know.
Small contribution.
Anyway, if I can, then I'm gonna try to bring this to a close. The budget was ultimately our recommendation was ultimately approved by a vote of 5-1. And that's where we're at.
So I think we got some really good, thank you, Representative Miller, or Smith, whichever you like better. Again, I think we got some really good feedback for next time, and as I say, we'll be more prepared next time. Well, that brings me to number.
Mr. Chairman, can I just mention one thing?
Yep.
We'd be happy to meet with the committee to alter the applications that are made so that the answers can come up front. So that committee members can look at it in advance. So if Representative Miller has any time between now and then, or any other member,
Yes.
or anybody from his committee, we're happy to meet with him to alter the application.
Awesome.
We've done this once before, a large number of years, and a long 15-20 years ago, when salaries became issues. Then it was salary focused.
Yeah.
Not fund balance focused, but a lot of what Representative Kaczynski has mentioned was talked about a long time ago. But we'd be happy to alter the application is all I'm offering.
That would be perfect. It's like, as I say, The goal always is to do the best job possible of gathering information, so that's good feedback. All right, well, that brings us now to 6, which is Representative Southworth is the Chair of Revenues and Capital Expenditure Subcommittee.
Good morning. I hope you all got to see the minutes. They're very accurate. We had about a 2% increase in revenue this year. But there was much variability within the line items, especially Riverside. For the general areas, there was a significant increase in jail revenue, and then there was a decrease in transportation because they've hired a private agency to do that now. Riverside, I'm amazed it came out as well as it did. They lost 400,000 Medicaid income. They increased by 500,000 Medicaid care unit. They increased by 300,000 skilled care, but then they dropped by 200,000 bed taps. So when you put that all together, it just the bottom line looks even, but that's a lot, in my opinion, of variability. And I don't remember it in the years I've been doing this to have so many accounts jump up and down that much. And I think it's just the world that we live in. You know, there are grants that are coming and going. Different formulas are being changed at higher levels of government. So I'm afraid that may be the way the future looks, that there's just going to be things jumping up and down. And we just have to make sure we find a middle area, you know, between those things that are happening. Representative Miller already went over the only change that we made, and that was adding 24,000 to the Register of Deeds. And for people who've been through this, when you have succession of an experienced employee to someone new, it really is worthwhile financially to have the person come in and get trained and just follow in the other person's footsteps and see what's going on. And, you know, I'm from education, but we like things like a business manager. We wouldn't just have one business manager walk out the door and the new one walk in the next day. We would really set aside time, you know, from them to really go over the books and all the programs and systems. So I think it is very worthwhile. The only other thing we have within revenues asked some questions about the ICE contract. And so we do have a little chart that's in the minutes about goes from 2018 to 2025. You can see the increase from 83 a day now to 150 a day. The number of ICE detainees, I think, is a little misleading because there were times when the detainees stayed here much longer. And so, you know, you can't say, wow, they had a lot of people. They just had a few people, because my understanding is now it's more like 30 days, or it's a shorter amount for a lot of the people. I've asked for another column that says how much actually did we get from ICE each of those years from 2018 to 2025.
Question. Senator Corrigan.
Most is outside the scope of the report, but like I did that little tidbit about private contractor attracted my attention. So I'll probably look into who the private contractor is and how much their local manager is being paid and how much the CEO is being paid, and possibly if I can find out what their cash reserves are. That's
okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a question, but yeah, but just I have a question about your question or statement. What are you talking about
the
specifically?
private contractor that's providing the transportation services in the sheriff department. So I'm curious to find out who it is.
Okay.
It's a company called Paragon Security.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's
I'll find out how much see if we can find out how much their regional manager is being paid, how much the CEO, what their cash reserves are, it might be funded at that.
you can't find that out if they're a private company. But,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that is,
So,
as he said, is outside of my committee.
Yeah.
so anyway, so I just had some questions about the little chart in here.
Yeah.
So, and I,
Which chart that?
The ICE one?
yeah, just the ICE one,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, yeah, he's here. Okay, good. So I had asked some of these questions like directly to the superintendent, but I kind of want them maybe answered on the record. I think it's helpful for people to understand. Because some folks, well, I don't know if it's current, if that trend is still continuing, but some folks that have been at the corrections have been there for a very long time in the ICE detainee piece. But you're saying now that most of those are turning over more quickly.
I'd turn it over to him, but that's.
Yeah,
my-
I'd like him to speak to that,
Yeah.
and, do you do anything where you take, like an average? And I understand that, let's say there's 100 ICE detainees, and yes, it's moving quickly but you could still have, let's say, 20 that have been there for 6 months or whatever. Could you speak to that, please? I think it's helpful for the committee to know.
So the individuals that are brought to our facility could be in various different states of their court proceedings. We have people who are brought in that are taken off the street on an arrest from the street. We have individuals who are transferred from other institutions. And so the reason why there's a variability of the duration of stay is that sometimes the individuals from other institutions are brought in because they've served their sentence in that institution. And as part of a negotiated plea or part of a decision that's been made, they would either deport because of a negotiated plea, or they would voluntarily deport. There are other people who are taken into custody that could be in that state, or they could be in that same category, but when they arrive at our facility, they may decide that they would like to seek asylum, because when they were pleading guilty, they may not have been able to foreshadow the civil unrest that has been created in their country. Let's say Ukraine. Say somebody entered into a sentence where they were going to voluntarily deport, and that was prior to 4 years ago, and now they don't want to go back because of the unrest that's in their country. There could be people who are brought into our facility, and they're taken into custody, and they have to have their entire case adjudicated, opportunities for them to be able to go in front of a immigration judge to determine whether or not they have a credibility as it relates to a fear claim. Then they have the opportunity to appeal that the Bureau of Immigration Court Appeals. If they don't like the outcome with that, they can then go to Circuit Court of Appeals to determine. So it's really driven by the individual that's incarcerated, and it's also driven by the status of their case when they arrive to our facility. We've had somebody there for a considerable amount of time, and it's because they are appealing their case. We have some people that continue to do that because they just don't want to go back to their country. And we have other people who are there who just want to get back to their country. So we have a myriad of different desires of time to stay incarcerated at Strafford County Department of Corrections.
Can I have a follow-up?
Please.
So let's just say for the folks that are there that they were picked up off the street and they do want to go back.
Yeah.
Is that a quick process? I mean, nothing's quick in the government, but I understand that. But is that process at all in any way done like in a streamlined fashion, or is that kind of a mess?
So I can't speak to the specific operations that ICE conducts to get individuals who voluntarily deport, for example. There are a multitude of different actions that need to happen for them to be able to do that. If somebody from the country of Mexico is in our custody and they say that they would like to go back to their country, they'll voluntarily deport.
Yes,
It's not like we can just put them on a plane.
exactly.
It's not like the country can just put them on a plane and send them back at their request. A lot of times what happens is they start a process where they go to the south, and then across the southern border, there are different locations that have points of departure that go to various different locations.
Okay.
So while their stay might be short with us, if it happens to coincide with a convenient schedule that's already established by a governmental operation, it just means that their duration of time in Strafford County could be shorter. It may be longer if they go down south and they have to wait for a time in which they can get transportation back to the country that they're aspiring to go to.
Okay, thank you.
Reverend Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Superintendent. So the question I have is, these examples you're giving are not hypotheticals. These are, you're not naming names, obviously, but these are all exactly the kinds of things that that are responsive to Representative Kendall's question. But this is exactly how it is a million different variations, but they're all real.
Yes.
That you deal with each and every one of these individuals.
I can say with confidence that I've had interactions with individuals who have told me, I just want to deport and go home.
Mhm.
I've had people who say, if I go home, I'm gonna die, and I don't want to go home. I've had conversations with people that says, I just want to be able to have my hearing in court. And while we're talking about immigration and customs enforcement, somebody saying that they just want to have their day in court is something that could happen to anybody that's incarcerated over there, whether they're brought in by Dover or Rochester, the U.S. Marshal Service for the districts of Maine and New Hampshire, as well as immigration and customs.
And also, in many cases, these people have families, some of whom may be American citizens, children who are American citizens. Is that the case that you deal with as well?
Anecdotally, I have heard that, yes, but I can't sit here and say unequivocally, I know that this individual said to me that they have American families. I have heard that. I've seen it in media for individuals that I know to be incarcerated inside our facility. So those things have happened, but it's from an anecdotal standpoint. I don't want to sit here and tell the committee that I know that unequivocally to be true, because I don't generally ask those questions. And if it does happen to come up in conversation, it's not something that I make note of. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, again, I'm sorry, yeah, Representative Roy.
It's okay, thank you. Could you tell me, are we breaking even on this deal? Or are we making money on this? Or are we losing money with all of these individuals that are coming in?
So we're making substantial gains by housing individuals inside our facility. We get a reimbursement rate of $150. And what we do is through the volume, we try to generate that income so that we make more than what it is to spend money on individuals that are incarcerated.
So it's just, you're able to justify housing these individuals then? In that manner, that it's not costing the county money, that you're actually breaking even or making money by housing all these individuals?
That's correct.
Okay.
How about, I'll do Representative Kaczynski and then Representative Pence.
Okay, kind of joining in on that. I could have sworn when I spoke to you at one time, you said it cost $162 a day to house somebody. And I know we're getting 100 because of the efforts of some reps who pushed to get a higher rate. We must have been losing substantial money per inmate there, but I seem to remember that 162. Was I wrong?
There was a figure of 162, and we started a negotiation to say we actually started a negotiation at a higher rate with immigration and customs enforcement. And it took into consideration cost impacts of our operation, but perhaps maybe Mr. Bauer, because he was part of that generating that paperwork, might be able to handle that question better than I can.
No, we make a substantial sum. I would estimate that our cost, that we make about $100 a day of the 150. So if we didn't have these, ladies and gentlemen who we board, it would be a much larger burden on the county taxpayer, which is why I think you'd find that Strafford County has, compared to its budget, has the lowest tax amount as a portion of the budget of any of the 10 counties as on a percentage basis. And a lot of that is.
I'd like to see an analysis of that. I'd like to see an analysis of that. I know that we say that we're making money, but we were making money with Riverside too, but apparently not. Could you get me an analysis on that, please, since we started?
I'm only going to interject 1 second because the difference is that Riverside, actually our revenue source is declining. So we're, as Medicaid is shifted more towards the county's responsibility, it's a net negative revenue. Whereas in this case, it's a net positive revenue.
So as it relates to that 162 figure, I believe that that comes from an analysis of what the cost is per inmate inside our facility if we don't encompass all of our operational process together, to include community corrections. Because if we house 600 people, if we monitor 600 people in the community with our community corrections program, if we were to not have the community corrections program, we could conservatively say that 2/3 of them would most likely be incarcerated inside our, that 2/3 would be able to remain out. But 1/3 would have to go into the facility.
That's right.
So that 1/3 that would come into the facility would then contribute to the costing of the individuals that we have to pay for to house over at our facility. Because we monitor all of those people on the outside, it creates open beds, which is what we fill with our US Marshal prisoners and our ICE detainees. That 162 figure is related to what the cost would be if we had to house everybody that is under our departmental control. We save money by monitoring people on the outside. And because we monitor people on the outside, the facility that we've created has open beds that are in there. And so we have brought through the US Marshal Service, we've brought additional beds over there so that we could house US Marshal prisoners and immigration and customs.
I'll make an offer if I could.
Sure.
For Representative Rudd. We're about to start our audit. I'll ask so that it's not done just internally. I'll ask our auditor to do an analysis of the boarding revenue and how it impacts. And that way it'll come from an outside source.
Excellent.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think a lot of people don't understand. You explained this to me, I don't know, maybe probably 2 years ago now, and then I understood. I understood how that number came about because you're looking at the whole community. Like, people don't understand that. They want, when they ask you that question, and it's valid, I get it.
Yep.
They're looking at exactly what's in the four walls in the ceiling. Okay, so that's what they're looking at when they hear that. But I understand that you have to include the whole community, and because you're still, that's still part of the program, you're monitoring all of that. Yes, because that cost, if 1/3 of them were in there, would be intense. So my last question, and then I'm sure if anybody doesn't have anything else, would be right now, at this state, how many open, I don't wanna say beds or whatever, what's the capacity at right now? What's your open capacity?
So it's
I know it's a fluid situation.
it is a fluid situation, and that, forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but for me to occupy all the beds, I have to have the right amount of individuals incarcerated.
Correct.
So this morning, we gave a report that we had 19 available beds that we would be able to fill. Now, I could put more beds in different housing units, but it would create a dynamic that doesn't meet bathroom accessibility.
I understand.
all
Yeah,
that kind
I
of stuff.
understand. Okay. And are we getting, in addition to, like, we're getting in Marshall and ICE, I would assume from all over New England, correct?
Yes.
Not just from New Hampshire?
So we receive Marshall prisoners from the District of Maine, the District of New Hampshire, obviously. Sometimes the District of Vermont, although transportation is challenging for the District of Vermont, and Massachusetts.
Yeah.
In addition, we also have 3 Bureau prison inmates this morning.
Okay.
That treat Strafford County as kind of a halfway house. So in addition to immigration and customs enforcement.
And we're definitely.
And they could come from different locations in New England or the Boston area of responsibility.
Thank you.
Representative Kaczynski.
There's one more I was gonna ask before. Jail administration, it says here, jail administration explained that eliminating ICE detainees would not meaningfully reduce staffing or operating costs due to conflicts in inmate classification, safety requirements, facility. So if we didn't have those 1,892 detainees last year, there would be nobody would be left, we still would have retained the same amount of people.
We'd certainly save on food. We wouldn't save on electricity, we wouldn't save on the building, because remember, when we.
I was talking about employees though.
Yeah, I was getting to that, and I just wanted to answer your whole question. When we come up with this cost, it's a full cost. It's the cost of the depreciation of the building. It's not just a staffing cost. So, yes, would there be less staffing? Certainly, but not on a percentage basis. So if we have, as an example, units G and units H, they house,
72 inmates each.
if we took 20 out of each or 25 out of each, we'd still need the one officer that's in there. Because that's all that's in there is one officer. Because we couldn't put them all together because we're separating for gangs, we're separating for.
Co-defendants.
I'm sorry?
Co-defendants.
Co-defendants, keep separates from court orders that are keep separates. So in those cases, we wouldn't lose any staffing. We still need 2 officers in booking, we still need an officer in medical. And maybe we'd only need 2 officers in housing pod one. Because there's 6 housing units, but we still have to obviously keep males and females separate. We need to keep maximum security separate. So there would not be a proportionate decrease is what I'm trying to say. So if we lost half the inmates, we wouldn't lose half the staff.
It doesn't break cleanly is what you're trying to say.
It does not.
That's not what this statement says, that eliminating ICE detainees. I'm assuming that meant we weren't in the program and there were none. That's what I was
If
assuming.
we were to eliminate ICE detainees and no longer house ICE detainees, we would see a significant decrease in revenue, but we would not see a significant decrease in the cost to pay people to work there. Because the nature of my classification process requires me to keep individuals separate. Because they either have problems with individuals who are also incarcerated, we have co-defendants, some of the other things that Administrator Bauer has talked about. So I would still have to have a staffing profile to be able to occupy all of these housing units. And forgive me, I don't have it today in my criminal justice subcommittee. I had kind of broken out how many ICE detainees were in G, how many were in H, how many were in all of the other housing
Oh,
units.
yeah, because they're not all together either.
Because they're not housed all together. So I have them separated because there are different classification levels and because there are gang members in those ICE detainees, and I can't put a whole bunch of MS-13 people together. I can't put a whole bunch of like Eastern Street Latino gangs members together because that creates a power dynamic inside the housing unit. And I can't have that happen.
On the Zoom for a second, Mike Harrington.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to this conversation. Can't help but comment. This kind of goes back some time ago with the original design of the jail when it was new, like 20 years ago. The design was built. It was designed with the idea that we'd be having a lot of these federal prisoners come in, and therefore we would get revenue from that. So I guess my point is now that the jail has already been built and it was built to hold these extra prisoners, if we get rid of the extra prisoners, the jail doesn't change, and the cost associated with the larger jail to accommodate the prisoners is still going to be there, whether we fill them up with ICE prisoners or not. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
Basically, yeah.
That's exactly accurate.
What about all the benefits that are accrued by the extra personnel? Yeah.
Look, I looked at this.
There's no doubt, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a proportionate drop. That's all I'm trying to say. Yet, would we lose some correctional officers? Probably, but not anywhere near in proportion to the $12 million in revenue that we would lose if we didn't board inmates.
I'll let the commissioner speak.
I just want to say one thing. It's pretty simple. Let's break if you look at the total appropriation the commissioners have asked for, 17.8 million. They're taking $9 million in from ICE. If you didn't have the $9 million, you'd save probably somewhere around $1 million in costs.
About it.
That's about it. Potential, okay? We looked at different staffing patterns back through time. You lose $8 million. It's not any more complicated. Okay, it's not a one-to-one savings. If we get rid of this, we're gonna save. It doesn't work that way. That's the bottom line, okay? Right now, based on our present population and our projected revenue, you will lose $8 million. It isn't any more complicated than that. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Penta?
Yeah, so I
See,
had.
that was complicated.
Yeah, I get this, for a lot of different reasons. You talked about all these different, classifications and separations and what you guys have to do. I understand that's not just, how you operate your facility, that a lot of these things also come from, regulations and all of that kind of stuff. I do want to ask do you have a separate population, like several prisons do that are medium and high, for sex offenders, pedophiles, all of that? Do you have that right now?
We do.
Are they completely excluded from general pot right now?
They are.
Okay. How many are in there right now?
I'd say somewhere in the vicinity of 40.
Ugh, okay. So, my other question is, I don't think people understand the level of, comparatively to other jails and prisons in New Hampshire, how lean that you have run in regards with staffing for your prison. And I'm giving you this because I really think that it's important and I want people to hear it. It's very important for them to understand comparatively to other counties, okay? What we've done in Strafford County is really very special in regards with what you've done, and not to put anybody, of course, at risk. I'm not saying that, but you have run extremely lean, and I'd like you to speak to that, please.
We have run lean, but I do think, one of the advantages that Stratford County has is that during the development process of this, we tried to look at what the cost would be over the duration of the building. And the biggest cost over the duration of the use of the building is staffing. So it was designed to have effective staffing. So when we designed it so that the central control officer would be able to monitor areas that they could monitor while they were executing a task. We designed the buildings so that it could have minimal staffing, but we could have oversight in the event that we needed to. And so while I will say that we have run lean, I want to make sure that I don't intonate that we're running understaffed. We're trying to be efficient with our operation so that, since 2000.
There's an easy answer.
Yeah.
We built at approximately the same time as another county. And their jail is smaller and has twice the staff.
That's what I was trying to allude to.
Chris is just too nice to say that because he doesn't want to embarrass another
Yeah,
county.
use the term efficient, not lean.
You know,
Yes.
and
It was all design.
we designed everything. Chris wasn't involved in this. He wasn't the superintendent then, and he wasn't in position to contribute. So
I wasn't working here when the design, I wasn't working here.
So I can tell you that we did everything backwards. We did everything backwards. We didn't design a building and then staff it. We staffed the building and then designed it. And that's what put us in that position. And thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate it.
I would like to echo that because we try to be as efficient as we can. And I will tell you, if you talk to staff members, they will say they'd like to have more staff over there. And I'll tell you, I'd like to have more staff over there as well. But we're required, I have been educated on how we can be efficient and still be, exercise a level of fiduciary responsibility. Because I'm gonna have to sit in front of committees like this and talk about the
Not my committee.
How many correctional officers do you have right now?
I have 44. I have 44 line staff. I also have supervisory staff. I have a staff of about 100, including my medical staff, my program staff.
Yeah,
supervisory
not
staff.
all correctional.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Representative back.
It's been a little bit since I've been in the jail. I toured it when I was in high school.
So that's a fun field trip.
Yeah, we did like a whole tour of
Long
the
waiting
whole
line.
facility of Strafford County, court system and also the jail and the nursing home a little bit. We actually got to talk with Tom Velarde, so I knew him before I became a state rep. But my understanding is the way that it's set up is you have the pod in the middle and then the housing surrounding the pod, so that way one person is constantly looking around, so that way you don't need 2 or 3 people, looking around.
Correct. We exercise something called direct supervision, and I don't want to get too far into it, but direct supervision puts the officer right in the housing. They don't necessarily have a safe place that they get to go to. They just know what cells are occupied by who, and if something breaks bad, they go in and they close that door. They radio for help, and then they can't get in until officers get in.
Correct.
So there is a, your recollection is correct, like the officers are right in there.
Yeah. Representative Howard?
So, when we're going back to the ICE detainee, spreadsheet that we have, what were our revenues in the Biden years?
I don't have the revenue, I didn't come with the revenues from the past years. It's something that I can certainly.
Yeah, I requested
together.
that before you came, so they're gonna give us another column with all of that.
We're gonna give you.
Ray's
We're
working
gonna
on
give
it.
you another, it wasn't the rest of the cats in the original, but I'll get you another column. You just have to give me till Monday.
Okay, well, that was my question. When?
Yeah, I'm sure I can have that, by the beginning of the week.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Other questions on the revenue? I think actually it's kind of interesting and Representative Day came, after we do the Riverside
Can we
subcommittee.
finish the revenue?
Yeah, and when we finish, we'll get back and I'll come back to it. So Representative Southworth, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Just a couple of things. These were great questions, and some of them have
Yes, they
come
are.
in our committee.
Absolutely.
But I think it's good, as you said, to have them in the minutes, all the
Sorry.
different things. I think, first of all, I want everything to be clear that we are making a good profit on the jail. And it's saving the taxpayers a lot of money. We did not have that profit, but still had to have the House of Corrections, the jail. We really would have to look hard at our budget. The other piece I would add would be, in the future, we're partway through a contract. We're gonna be doing another contract. So all these things are gonna be discussed ongoing. And, I would ask, probably more than in the past, that maybe the exec would be kept a little more up to date as we're in the middle of because I know when you're in year 2, you're already talking about year 4. So
Yeah.
I think that would help because times have changed. So otherwise, we did approve, the revenue pages 7 to 1. Again, I think this is a really great discussion to add information and so on, and for future follow-up.
All right, that brings us, not to put you on the spot, Representative Wall, is the Riverside Rest Home Subcommittee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today. I continue being enormously impressed with how Riverside is managed, how well the residents are cared for, and how on earth we're able to continue having the quality of care with the downshifting of expenses from the feds and the state. If you look at your pages that you have, our overall budget is flat funded. We only have minimal increases where absolutely essential. The money we're paying out is agreed upon by the unions. We have stability in staffing. We have people who have been there a long, long time. They understand the fiscal constraints of the county, and yet they're dedicated to the work that they do and stick with us. I've seen the quality of care that the residents get over and over, and it is outstanding. For staffing, again, we're fully staffed. The only time when we would hire anybody is if there's a position that is vacated, someone that we can't shift someone around to fill within Riverside. We're relying less on pool nurses. Those are agency nurses. There are agencies that hire out nurses around New England, around the country actually, but for us, New England, very expensive to hire these nurses if you need them.
Are these
Because-
travel nurses,
Pardon?
sometimes called travel nurses?
They're called all kinds of things, yeah. They're nurses who come from outside and, they're paid more because they're here temporarily and you're also paying the agency fees. So, we're relying primarily on our staff, which is very dedicated to the care of our residents. We have tremendous pressures because of downshifting, but we're working within the budgets that have been supplied by the county over the years and doing very well. And I've got to thank Ray Bauer over and over again for the quality of management he provides, as well as for the staff at Riverside. We've been very lucky. There's no COVID there. Once in a while, there's an outbreak of something horrible like norovirus. There's no vaccine against that. There's really not much you can do except to isolate the individuals and manage the care while they're suffering through this horrendous virus that keeps going around. But that is well taken care of at Riverside. There's a policy there at this time where if you want to wear a mask, it's encouraged if you go in to visit, because we're taking germs in from the outside for these people who are so vulnerable. So there is great infection control, and it's up to us if we visit to be responsible when we go in there. For the department highlights, for maintenance, the Riverside Rest Home and Hyder House had combined under the same management. We were able to obtain Hyder House a few years ago after it was originally built privately, and there's a real need in this county. There's a need everywhere for hospice care. And I continue to hear from people who have lost friends and relatives at Hyder House. And again, just like Riverside, the quality of care is superior. I keep hearing from people who years ago lost people at Hyder House, and they just think the best of it. So we're very lucky having those two facilities. For the dietary portion, every individual has a care plan. Every individual has a diet plan because everyone has different needs. Some are required because of physical conditions, and such as, off the top of my head, lactose intolerance. So the diet is designed to make sure people get the nutrition they need, but restrict the substances or foods they cannot tolerate. We have more behavioral problems than we've ever had with dementia. There are so many kinds of dementia. Now, I think we were the first either nursing home or county nursing home in the state to have a behavioral health care unit. Thank you. And we're continuing to have more and more people, as we all know, out in the greater population with problems with dementia of different kinds. So we're very hard to make sure that we have that kind of care for our older or even younger individuals who have dementia and enter Riverside. With resident services, the federal required assessments, you've heard from Ray before about swallowing tests that used to be done at the hospital. It's very traumatic for individuals to go through. It's now down at Riverside, and it's less troublesome, less traumatic for the residents who are there. And it's our kindness and quality of care that we have that at Riverside. Laundry services, we send out our linens, bedding and such to the jail to be laundered, but personal laundry is done at Riverside at Rest Home, and that's the way it should be. I've already mentioned hospice at Hyder House. All I can say is that it is remarkable that our budget is as stable as it is for Riverside Rest Home in terms of what we're able to accomplish with very limited resources, actually, and I'm not exaggerating on that. Again, the downshifting that continues to occur over and over is putting a greater burden on managing how we're running a facility of that size with the kinds of needs that are being met by the residents. So, our committee did vote, not unanimous, but
It was 5 to 7.
did vote to send this budget on to the executive committee, and I strongly support it. Thank you.
Questions? Penza?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I just have, so in the report, it doesn't, it does state in one section on the bottom of page 2, I believe, where it has key tension and next steps, tension between fiscal restraint and contractual labor obligations. I did receive the multi-year salary trend data, so I have that, and that'll be helpful for the report through our other subcommittee that we're doing. But there was a really big piece of information that was excluded from this report, and I want it in there, which I talk about the baseline reality of 10 years of huge losses, and that those aren't challenges based upon Riverside Rest Home's Medicaid cost reports. I understand the downshifting. I agree with several things that Representative Wall said, but the closest equivalent that we have to, in a sense, like a profit and loss is what this Medicaid cost report provides us. And they, of course, require the standardized reporting and allocation of overhead to licensed services. And that's what is required, of course, at every facility across the country. And so, we don't have the data, of course, for 2025 yet. That will come out shortly. But, the 7.165426 million that we are showing as an operated loss is huge. And we've showed a loss, every year for over a decade. And, 2024 is what I talked about at that 7.165426, but, 2023 was 9,955,644. 2022 was 10,034, 034,466. Those things, there needs to be a note in here about what I said, I believe. I think that's a glaring miss. And then, just, based upon the proposed budget right now, we are paying, in a sense, the taxpayers. That's when I say we, because that's who we represent, 231,000, approximately $426 per resident per year. And that is just, that's, I'm sorry, that's insane, and that's unrealistic, and it's unsustainable, and there has to be changes. So I just wanted to say that, and in no way does that diminish the quality, the care, the staff, or any of those things, where I'm just talking basic facts and basic numbers, and something's got to give.
So that is going to be in the minutes, so that'll be reflected in the delegation. We'll see that in the minutes. Representative Kaczynski? Did you have, I saw your hand slightly up, wasn't sure if you had a question.
No, I didn't really, but I gotta say, this is unacceptable, and it's been said that nobody argues with the numbers, but this was never brought up in the past. So I guess it comes to about $66 million loss over 10 years. And 231,000 per resident. And I've said this in the other committee. I know somebody that's got their mother in a nursing home for 165,000. And I've talked to another one where it would have came out to 182,000. And that's still $50,000 difference. You got a building that's paid off here. I thank God that we don't have a new mortgage with that too, because what would that be? 15 million more a year for a mortgage payment in addition to these costs? I mean, I don't know. I would hope people on the other side, or friends on the other side of the aisle, would take note of this, and it might bother them. because I hear complaints about things, but nobody ever will vote against something here. And this has gotta be resolved. This is unacceptable for the taxpayers, you know, and maybe an aside, but I talked to somebody at a nursing home, we were told that they're all private pays and the private ones, and that's not the case. This person said there's two people in a whole facility that are private pay. She said, and I quote, "Who can afford this? These people are on Medicaid." So this is, you got the same type of operation here, doing, they're getting, their money is derived from the same place. Why such a difference like this?
And the facility that he's talking about, because I'm gonna back this up, is, has, about 90 people there. So give or take, there's a fluid situation there as well. So out of that 90, only 2 are private pay. So, I think we have to really, all come together on this with, realistic solutions to work this. And, I've had conversations with Representative Schmidt, and he agrees. And I really think this cannot in any way, shape, or form be about any sort of partisan us against them malarkey at this point. Really, we are in a fiscal crisis, and we have to figure it out.
Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as you know, you referenced me in your remarks. The long-term care subcommittee heard a detailed analysis on your part at the last meeting a week or so ago. And I do not disagree with you that the situation is a critical one because stated against the background, the reality is this little pocket of Strafford County is part of the state of New Hampshire. And the tax structure of the counties is somewhat individual, but it's also part of the overall structure of taxation, revenues, and so forth at the state level and to some degree the federal level, right? Because there's money going back and forth, there's money coming from the feds, Medicaid money, but there are decisions that have been made at the state level with regard to how the state is going to raise the revenues that it needs for its expenses. But we're aware of the fact that those of us who've been here longer, more aware of it to some degree. But the reality is there's a tremendous amount of downshifting by the state and to some degree by the feds as well to limit taxation at the federal and at the state level and impose that, because the state has that power, impose that on the taxpayers of Strafford County in our instance. But that did not diminish in any way the fact that the individual property taxpayers of Strafford County they range from people who can just write the larger check for their property taxes and other people for whom that money is a crushing burden. And so we have to acknowledge that and understand that because it does impact our property taxpayers, but by the same token, because of the structure we have, we are the people who are responsible for it at the moment. And I think that recognizing that, understanding that, acknowledging that is important. So because to the degree that we simply vote it out, we are saying to the taxpayers of Strafford County, whether you can easily afford it or you can't afford it at all, makes a difference in whether some people are eating 3 meals a day and have medications or not. And to be oblivious to that is something that I think is irresponsible. So I think this discussion is extremely important. But we do have to understand our picture within the framework of the state and the federal government as well.
Representative Wall.
On the Zoom when you get a chance.
I'll get you, next, Representative Harrington.
Thank you.
Representative-
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is a no-frills budget for a no-frills facility. We all know that the smallest part of our tax bills is the county budget every single year. We are not wasting money at Riverside. We have, as I've said, quality people who have been there a long, long time, and they stick with it because they're dedicated to the care of the residents. There is no waste at Riverside. If you bother to go over and inspect the facility, talk with the people who are there, you will see that there's a commitment to working within the framework of our budgets and not wasting one single penny. You know, you talk about changes. Well, the changes aren't to occur with how this place is managed or what kind of people we take in. We take in the poorest, the oldest, the sickest at the end of their lives. And that's the right thing to do. And we have an obligation to do that. If there are changes, the changes should come up at the federal level and the state level, because I'm sick and tired of them downshifting everything to us and then having to hear people concerned. And I respect that you're concerned, but the concerns are misplaced. It's not here at the county level. It's higher than we are. And we have to talk to our people who are working at higher levels than we are to say, look, there are needs here. Get with it, do something, help us. Thank you.
Representative Harrington.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're kind of talking past each other here. One group of people is talking about the where the funding comes from, and it's being downshifted because the federal government of the state isn't funding as much as they think is appropriate. And the other's talking about the actual spending. And I think they're kind of two separate issues. We had two examples brought up where they were nursing homes that were substantially cheaper than Riverside. Now, I'm assuming these representatives got their facts correct, but what we're talking about is, can we look at what the cost structure is? We can't do anything about, at least on this level, what the federal government does or what the state government does, but we can look at our costs associated with the rest home. And are there ones out there that are substantially cheaper? How come they are? That's the area I think we're trying to look at. Representative Patanza and Kaminsky said that we're not trying to debate the downshifting of costs, but is there a way we could spend less, or are we spending as efficient as we can? And when they mentioned two other nursing homes where the costs are substantially less, why is it substantially less there? I think that's the issue we're trying to get at.
Thank you. Representative Howard.
So when we're looking at, the inflationary aspect to everything, we're seeing increased costs across the board on a number of different line items, and we have to consider the revenue aspect. I mean, we saw with the One Big Beautiful Bill, 15% cut to Medicaid funding to the state of New Hampshire. I mean, Governor Ayotte said that she was going to veto the budget that she signed because of three reasons. DHS funding was one of them. And that was not fixed. We lost $46 million in a back of the budget cut. That has affected us very significantly because that downshifts onto us and our county taxpayers. I think that we have to, realize that in our positions as representatives, yes, we need to be reaching out to the governor. We need to be reaching out to our representatives in Washington, putting pressure on them to make sure that we can get this funding restored. And I mean, it is something where we have to talk about how the downshifting has affected things because we are seeing an increase in costs, but yet our revenues are not going anywhere but down. And that is a huge aspect. And it's a colliding, debate because we're talking about costs versus revenue. And I think that the revenue aspects are dropping far more significantly than the inflationary aspect of everything else. And that is something where we do have to think about how we can actually cover those costs.
I think there are a lot of things we don't know. I think one of the comments were made like, oh, we're paying pensions and things to have these employees there. Like, we don't know what kind of benefits the employees at this private nursing home are making, maybe very little. But the fact that the county does have a pension program, that's a good thing for the people, right? My mother's pension is what kept her out of a nursing home, basically, the county nursing home, right? She had an excellent pension. So we have to look at you know, the big questions and how much we're paying for private health insurance is a huge burden on the county and government, so. I think we could debate these things for a long time. I think a lot of these questions should go back to the special committee on the nursing home so that we can kind of move on.
So to that point, I was just gonna say, this is coming, the discussions that are, as was just mentioned. These discussions are coming. Originally, I wanted to have something on the, full delegation meeting on, March 4th. But then I realized that's really not a good idea, that actually a separate meeting that is just the nursing home that will do the report, that will give everybody the ability to talk, I think not only as was Representative Harrington pointed out, we can talk about efficiency of cost and revenue streams that are coming in. That I would like to do in April because it's really insane in the House right now with the other work that we're doing. And it's challenging to try to have enough bandwidth to think through that. So that will be coming in April in a separate meeting. And since we're already an hour and a half into this, I'd like us, if at all possible, although Representative Bailey, you didn't have a chance to.
Well, I just wanted to remark parenthetically, I guess, that our own pension system is millions of dollars in debt. We will not be paid off for another decade at least. So, I mean, before we pat ourselves on the back about our pension
It's
system.
billions, actually.
Billions?
Billions.
Yeah, so.
Because it was
Oh, thank God we've got this pension system, there's billions in debt, you know, it's like, that's just another more junk on top of the pile.
Yes. I would like to move.
This is to move,
I just wanted to make one, when the state pretty much mandated all of us to join the pension system, the state was paying for the pension system. It's now dumped it all on us.
They did.
Correct.
The fact that-
You know, they said, oh, come on and join, we'll make the payment for you. And now, and I know that was a number of years ago, but I was here. Now it's all dumped on us.
Where would I turn in my state government fan club card?
So I'm gonna, again, like this, there is a dedicated meeting that is coming to do this. I'm gonna move us along. Cause we can talk about this forever. And again, we'll have a dedicated meeting. So I'm gonna move on to number 8, which is the subcommittee on the elected official salary. And I really thank our officials. They were very magnanimous. We did make adjustments in the past, and so all of our salary employees are well compensated, and due to our financial difficulties this time, they agreed that in the first year of a 2-year setup, they would take as no raise. And in the second year, they would take 2%, which we thought was fair. Inflation at the day that we discussed this was 3.1%. If that held, they would actually lose some ground over the 2-year contract. So it was very generous on their part. And so the committee recommended, and I think must have the committee recommended that we approve this, the salaries for our officials. Are there any questions on that? Yes, Representative Kaczynski.
Well, for the record, I voted against that and offered it should be 0 in both years increased. And reasoning is the department heads were here and they said they were well compensated. They were happy with what they were getting paid. And I'd say there's good reason for that when you compare it with the other counties in the state. So, you know, say that it should be 2%, I'm against that.
Thank you. Representative.
It just must be noted, these salary recommendations are for the next term. We don't know who will be the county this or the county that, or the commissioners and so forth, because it will be the next
But
term.
they're elected, they don't have to take the job. If they want to run for election, they want the job.
That's true, but somebody will run for all these positions, maybe on both sides of the aisle and so forth. And just so everybody understands, you can draw whatever conclusion you want, but this is for the next term, not for the current term.
Representative, Oregon.
Yeah, I'm not terribly comfortable having basic not having the same salary for both years of the next term, but certainly we're gonna have an election in November, and actually, unfortunately, or at least one of the members of the county commissioner is not eligible to run for his seat because we're playing around and changing the law related to widening the count of the districts, and there was an admission in that, et cetera. So like, at least, we know at least one of the commissioners isn't coming back unless he moves within the
You
county.
never know, I might buy real estate on that side.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, that's like something we're doing, not just for the incumbents, but also like whoever the hypothetical people are who might step forward and run for it. So like, yeah, I think, yeah, so I mean, I would, support the proposal. I would feel more comfortable if we like had the same rate both years. That seems a little, I guess we can do that, but it seems a little unusual, but yeah, so.
Representative Benson?
Yeah, I'm just gonna parrot what Representative Kaczynski said. I feel as if, same thing, they're elected positions and we are above and beyond other counties at this point, and we've been very generous. And exactly, these are, don't run for them if you're not interested. So just because of where we're at, I mean, I'm not sure if everybody realized, like during COVID time, you know, the governor at the time basically gave himself an increase. And I'm not okay with any of those things at this point when people are struggling. And so, hence, you know, we make $100 a year. So I just, yeah, I'm sorry. I really believe that it needed to be 0 for both as well.
All
Sorry.
right, anyone else? All right, I'm gonna move on then to number 9, which is the discussion of the nomination of the candidate for Strafford County Police Development Authority representative. Steve Fournier came in. We are very lucky to have him. He is the business manager of Newmarket. He's really innovative. Newmarket has done outstanding work with economic development. He's tied into most of the communities in the seacoast. And he's done a great job. He's really been our mouthpiece for the seacoast to really advocate for us. And I thought what was interesting for me is when he came in, all I thought of was actually Pease, up in Newington. But he was pointing out also that a big role that they had was in the ports and the harbor. And I think I am a huge fan of field trips. And I think we should, as a delegation, when it gets nicer out, he offered for us to be able to do a field trip of the harbor, and I think it'd be a really great idea.
Cruise.
Do I need my mother to sign a permission slip?
You may, some of you, depending on your ability to do informed consent, may need permission from somebody else. Representative, do you have a question, Representative Smith?
Just gonna say, having served on this board, for a long time, the PDA people specifically contacted me, asking me to vote for Steve Fournier to continue to be the Strafford County, representative to the PDA. So they like him too.
That's great. So it's been good. So that's been a positive, I'd say, and I will work, especially when it gets warmer, on trying to set up a field trip, because I think it would be really
Oh, yeah,
interesting. Most of us have driven through Pease itself. I've never really done the harbor part, so it'd be
Yeah,
good.
the harbor, I have done this. If you want to see the harbor facility right downtown Portsmouth, put your feet in the salt pile.
All right, so that,
Actually vote on the nomination today?
so I think we're going to need, I believe we do, don't
Yeah.
we? Do. So why don't I'll, number 9, I'll just throw that in. I will accept a motion that the executive committee recommends Steve Fournier for the Keys Development Authority representative position.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Representative Smith, seconded by Representative Wall. Because we have somebody on Zoom, we need to do a roll call vote.
Bailey?
I don't vote for solitary candidates, so I am compelled to vote no, although I have no idea who this person is.
Unless it was left. Harrington,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Lamontaine,
Yes.
Clerk Brooks, yes. Depenza,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes,
Southworth,
Yes.
and Wall.
Chair.
And Howard.
Yes.
And point of order, is this it, or do we have to go to the full
oh
delegation?
no, this is just,
This
This
is it.
is our recommendation to the
To
full
the full
delegation.
delegation.
correct.
All right.
Motion passes, I know that.
Did I hear the count? I couldn't quite hear how you guys voted.
It was like 9-1, wasn't it?
11, 11.
Because of Zoom.
Oh, Zoom, yeah.
11 to 1. The motion passes. All right, that brings us to number 10. I will entertain a motion to approve the recommendations for the budget subcommittees for the full delegation meeting on Wednesday, March 4th, 2026, 7 p.m.
So
Moved by Representative Southworth, seconded by Representative Lamontagne. Any discussion of the motion? I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Bailey,
Nay.
Harrington,
No.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
No.
Lamontaine,
Yes.
Clerk Brooks, yes. Depenza,
No.
Schmidt,
Yes,
Southworth,
yes.
Wall,
Yes.
and Howland.
Yes. I got you. Right there. I got mine. I got it.
You needed it.
8-4, motion passes 8-4. That brings us to number 11 on the agenda, which is a motion to accept the minutes for the December 5th, 2025 executive committee meeting. I'll entertain a motion, Representative Bailey.
I appreciate attending this meeting twice. Does it matter?
You're doubly important.
I'm present, but I'm also present.
Okay. We'll fix
Did
that.
you vote twice? If only I could.
you can vote twice.
Are there any,
We're only counting
are there any other corrections that anybody has? And actually, kind of interestingly enough, we just described, said, before we started this, we're gonna try out the AI addition. Representative Bay had it, and it may be helpful actually, or not helpful, but we're gonna give it a shot. So I entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Don't be shy.
I thought we had one.
Oh, did we have one?
No,
No, I don't think we did.
not for that. So moved.
Moved by Representative Southworth, seconded by Representative Wall. Again, we need a roll call for this.
Bailey,
Oh. Well, with that proviso of
Mm.
being present twice, yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kaczynski,
Yes.
Lamontaine,
Yeah.
Clerk Brooks, yes. Depenza,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes,
Southworth,
Yes.
Wall, and Howland.
Yes. Motion passes. All right, Paul, is any other business that will come before us legally? The commissioner has something.
As you all are aware, the delegation approved the use of county land for the construction of a warming center here on the Petty Farm Block. The city managers and mayors met with the board of commissioners and agreed to hire, as a result of an RFP process where there were 7 bidders, to award a contract, at the recommendation of city managers and mayors, to under construction. Now what they're asking for, is permission for the commissioners to execute the contracts on the city manager's behalf. And the reason for that is they can either do it separately, or we can just combine it for efficiency, reasons. Now, in order for us to do that, the budget of the county would have to be adjusted.
Okay,
So what would happen is we would ask for up to 3.5 million in expenses and 3.5 million in revenue, so we have absolutely no property tax impact. It's either that or we're gonna have to go through a lengthy bureaucratic shuffling of paperwork between us all, and they would like to avoid doing that if that's possible.
which would cost us more,
Is that?
which would cost us the shuffling
Well,
bureaucratic.
the
paperwork,
bureaucratic shuffling, which has cost everybody more time and money on administrative, that's.
So, would you is your recommendation that we at the executive committee level approve a revenue and, it's
Expense.
a revenue and expense?
It's equal.
You don't have the sum, do you?
Up to $3.5 million.
Up to 3.5 million.
And we can report to the executive committee as well as that process moves forward.
And is this a recommendation that then goes to the full delegation?
No, it doesn't need.
It's in-house for here, okay.
Yeah, because we're not affecting the amount to be raised by taxes.
Yeah, it's revenue neutral, it's
Right.
neutral.
It's neutral.
So,
with-
just to be clear,
That we can't, that we don't have anything in writing. I object that this is being done and that we're gonna vote on something that I don't have anything written down with what the plan is or what RFP was accepted or any of that. So I object to us taking a vote on this at all.
all right, well, the alternative to that would be that I would need to have a executive meeting before the March 4th meeting, where the information that you're asking would be provided to you before then, and then we as a executive committee would vote on a recommendation. So if that was the case, I would say that we would have to come in. The committee, the full delegation meeting is at 7. If we came in at 6, and executive, I'm giving us just extra time. If we held a executive meeting at 6 o'clock and provided that information, you could vote on it. Would that satisfy your requirement?
Yes.
or March 4th.
I mean, you could do it in front of the full
You
delegation.
could just do it in front of the full delegation if you.
Yeah, not to amend the budget. I mean, you could.
Okay,
I would recommend doing it as the executive committee.
I would prefer to do it at the executive committee as well, and that the executive committee has a chance to talk to it and then bring it up to the full delegation. Representative Schmidt.
I have one question, and that is, that executive committee meeting would have to be legally noticed,
Which we have.
okay? And whether there would be any cost involved, because we have to notice the delegation meeting at the same time,
Yeah.
same day. Will it cost us anything extra to notice?
Jan's checking on that as we speak.
And just to make sure, this actual proposal gets voted on by the executive committee, not the full
It
delegation.
doesn't have to be by the full
Okay.
delegation.
Right.
It doesn't, it certainly could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's the way the executive committee chooses to. But if you remember, we've done this several times before, where
Yes.
we've gotten grants and
Yeah.
other things, as long as it's tax.
Revenue neutral.
Tax neutral.
Representative.
The current schedule, there's also on the official part of the program, there's the dinner at 6, so it could probably be better for us to be able to participate in that.
No, there are sacrifices, those.
You can bring the food in here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the government cheese, we can't miss out on that.
Yeah,
It should take about 5 to 10 minutes.
I agree with, Representative that we should have more information provided in advance about the terms of the contract and the agreement with the cities. And.
Well, the city's just simply asked us, I mean, I suppose I could have a contract drafted between the city managers. City managers are authorized to do this project. They can do it without us.
Right, but do we have some agreement about the land use and that kind of thing, or?
We've got an agreement that just simply says that the land's available for use. But nothing regarding the actual execution of the construction documents, and city managers can do it without us.
Yeah.
Because they,
Let's,
so they're just asking for the sake, first of all, it's gonna end up being a county building when they get done. Their plan is to turn that building over to the county. So it's gonna be a county building anyway, so they thought it would be a lot easier on their end if we just had the county commissioners oversee the project but I can't pay the bills and oversee the project because I need permission to do that. So you
I
guys.
think the issue here is just pretty simple. If whatever the thing that they're requesting needs to be put in writing so we can read it and figure out what we're voting on. That's all. Pretty simple.
so
Yeah. And I also want, you said that you had a meeting with these city managers, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I want that information too, like what the date was, that meeting, what was determined. I want them all confirming that, that meeting happened because, you know, going back to Rochester, there was a lot of feedback about the warming shelter and people felt very blindsided about that and that other solutions weren't looked at. So I really want to make sure that we are dotting all our i's and crossing our t's so we can have all of this very transparent information out for our constituents.
There's no downside to doing it at the time of the delegation.
all right, so we'll do it 6 o'clock on, can we do it?
Well, I missed the cutoff to change by about an hour so far, but I can see if they can try and squeeze in an additional amount to the ad that's going out for the delegation.
If they could do that, let's do it. I
If
would,
not, it'll have to go on to a set, like, the very seventh day. Cause right now it's.
Just gonna have the city.
You know what, we
Just
can
gonna have the city.
we'll just have the city managers
And
do it.
then-
If we're gonna miss the meeting date,
Right.
we'll just have the city managers do it.
That was an
We'll have the-
idea. Thank you for it, but.
We'll have we were just trying to make it easier. If that doesn't work, what we'll do is just have the city manager sign the contract. When the bill comes in, they'll just send it to them and they can just pay the bill directly. It doesn't have to.
it was a great idea. I think that, just from the concerns I heard here, if we'd only been more efficient, we would have made the cutoff. All right, so with that, yes, Representative Kaczynski.
This is a little disturbing. We get this stuff popped on us last minute. And the county delegation's been boxed out of this whole thing. And there was a statement made that I don't think I have the votes for them, so we didn't have to vote on the spending on this warming shelter.
We did. We had a delegation vote.
Oh, yeah, it really was.
We actually, we aren't spending anything. It's being,
Spending good.
so we were just saying that they could use the land.
Yeah.
So we will have at the March 4th full delegation meeting, there will be a update on the warming center that everyone will get a chance to see. So that brings us, I do have one more piece of legally allowed business for the executive committee, and I'm requesting, if I can get a motion to back it up, that we as a executive committee go into non-public under RSA 91A:32C. That if the things that we were discussing potentially could have a negative impact on someone's reputation. Specifically, I am seeking to have a discussion of county detainees. I spoke with our county attorney, and because of the legal nature and names being used, that she believes that this does meet the threshold for a non-public meeting. We'll have a very, very narrow window where we can only talk about that. And so, if the motion is approved, unfortunately, the televised will be cut off. The room will need to be cleared. I will only have in here the superintendent of the jail. I also need the county administrator and the chair of the county commission. We will take by RSA we will take minutes broadly of what we discuss, not any specifics. And the time we come out of non-public. Since there are only gonna be a couple of us in here, when we come out of non-public, I will open the door and say that we're coming out of non-public. My intention would be at that point that we will then, entertain a motion and adjourn the meeting. So I will, entertain a motion to go into non-public. Moved by Representative, Southworth, seconded by Representative Oregon. I need to take a roll call vote for this.
Bailey?
Present once.
Harrington?
Yes, I understand. Someone could fill me in later because I'm
You
assuming
have-
the Zoom's gonna be cut off, right?
Your attorney and your.
Oh, I should probably include the county attorney, yeah.
Oregon?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Kaczynski?
Yes.
Lamontaine?
Yes.
Yes. Penza?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Southworth?
Yes.
Wall? And Helen?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't take it
Do
personally.
you need us?
Oh, no, do I think?
Just get your ass out here.
Just in case, because you could tell me if I spray.
Okay, don't get me on that.
Okay, we are set up. Everybody else can leave. I will,